2024 has seen some big films flop. Movies like Bade Miyan Chote Miyan, Maidan, Yodha, Merry Christmas, all of them with big ticket stars, have bombed at the box office. Cinema halls are shutting and exhibitors are cutting down on shows and capacity. Now, this has started off a conversation on the ballooning costs of Bollywood movies. Where is the film industry going wrong? Is there a reliance on stars over stories? The return on investment, how are film productions cost? To talk about this, I have with me today Sharik Patel, former CEO Z Studios. He has his own production house now. And my colleague Anthony Rosario joins me in the studio, News9 Plus, where he'll be giving us a review on the third season of Mirzapur. Right, but Sharik, over to you first. Where exactly is the film industry going wrong, Sharik? Where ballooning costs, star salaries, what's to blame?
I think it's just, in this post-COVID scenario, we've all been grappling with what to do, what will work, why it should work.
Yeah.
Coming out of COVID in 22, it was just Pushpa, RRR, KGF, which kind of, hit it out of the park. Everyone
Yes.
else was suffering, and everyone talked about the death knell of Bollywood. And then 23 was like just a fantastic reversal, starting off with Pathan, Z Studios' own Gadar, followed by Jawan and Animal. Suddenly we had 4 films in the 500 club. And now again, 24 seems to be, doom and gloom again. So I think it's a little cyclical, yeah. This year, if you see what Kalki is doing, it's again seems like it's bounced back. However, having said that, I think it's these are all. Is the industry going through a tough time? Yes, it is.
Right.
Is it just in India? No. I think globally, if you see, Hollywood is down year on year, almost more than 30% for the first 6 months for 24 as compared to 23. If you read any of the Hollywood reports which coming out, I think they're also all struggling. I think overall the theatrical business is undergoing, a massive churn. The films that are performing are overperforming, and those not performing are just falling flat. There's just very little scope for middle, for average successes, and that's a problem, because I think all of us, or a lot of producers and actors and everything, the budgets and everything get we're getting locked on the basis of what is the average gross of a particular actor, director, genre combination, and that entire calculation seems to have gone for a toss. This year you had something like Munjia, which was really no one expected it to cross 100 crores. You had Shaitan, which did almost 150 odd crores. Literally after that, Maidan came and couldn't make a dent at all. Yeah, they've gone. I think it's just it is extremely choppy waters right now, and I think navigating it for the next for the next 6 months, and the next 18 months is going to be really difficult.
It's going to be a difficult thing, Sharik. But thanks for that sweep of the last couple of months. Bollywood post the pandemic. But the one point that jumped out in your conversation is the fact that small budget films, medium budget films, are doing extremely well. Shaitan, made on a very shoestring budget, 30 crore, 40 crore. You have Animal, made for 100 crore, which grosses over 1,000 crore, right? So what's the message here? That stars should actually take cuts in their salaries? You need to pay more to the technicians and story writers, for instance?
No, for sure. I think that is there, but I think there's enough mid-size and small budget films which have fallen by the wayside too. So I think it's a little, again, a sweeping statement that the mid-size ones are doing better. I think what the advantage of the mid-size one is that the profitability, I was running a studio, and the profitability comes from the mid-size films. It was Kashmir Files for us. It was Gadar, a very expensive movie. It was 65, 70 crores to make. And the profitability of the studio comes from these mid-size movies. The bigger budget movies, honestly, are vanity. It's important as a studio or as creators to work on the potential blockbusters, but the returns are predominantly in that case it is the top talent, whether the acting talent or directing talent, which takes the lion's share. yeah, there have been instances where, whether it's a very heavy VFX oriented movie, whether it's, Jawan, or it's, Kalki or Brahmastra, where, a lot of money has actually gone into the actual, creating of the world, and, and the action sequences and the VFX and everything. In those cases, there is a fair amount, in those cases, it is justified. But, it is the top talent, it is the top 10 actors who, whether in the Hindi film industry or in the Telugu film industry or South, is what, take away the cream of the budget. And yes, I think definitely there needs to be a serious relook at it. The markets are, especially since there's no guarantee of the kind of opening weekend that
Yes.
even someone like a Prabhas, notwithstanding what happened with Kalki,
Yes.
can guarantee. And if he is the highest paid actor in the country right now, I think it's important for everyone, from him and Shahrukh and everyone, to just uh, look at the budgets very, very, very sincerely, and very, to ensure that the producers need to keep producing. I mean,
Right.
the flow has to be there, because if there's no flow, as you were saying, theaters will shutter, and
Yes.
it kind of shrinks. And what started off this mad craze, or the crazy pricing, was the fact that, with streaming platforms mushrooming since 2018-19, and the great growth that all of them had during the pandemic, the pricing for the digital
Yeah.
rights did go out on a whack, and market forces were at play, and
Right.
with more money coming in, for the acquisition of these movies by the streaming platforms, I think that the talent thought it was, it was their contribution, it was there for the taking, and they did that. But now, with the pricing coming down, I think it's important for them to read the writing on the wall, and I think support the industry to ensure that films continue to be made.
Yes, absolutely. And in fact, my colleague Anthony Rosario is here in the studio, and he's a filmmaker himself. A filmmaker of sorts, short documentaries,
Short
Anthony.
documentary,
Yes,
I think
and a film watcher as well. You've
Yes.
been watching a lot of films, but you've been listening very patiently to what Shahrukh said. What's your take on, as a film viewer, the post-pandemic world of cinema watchers? What do you look for in a movie when you go to a movie hall and you pay a lot of money for the popcorn and the eats? It's what, 600, 700 rupees?
I think I've stopped going to theater or multiplex altogether, until and unless it's
Right.
something that's major and it's a grand thing. I think mostly I'd prefer to watch it on Netflix or on Amazon Prime.
Right.
I think that has been the mode for me to watch cinema, right?
Yes.
And I think the kind of cinema that I've started watching on Netflix, and just because it's on Netflix doesn't mean that it's a short, great watch.
Right.
Sometimes, and the sorry state of, let's say, cinema across all, across Hollywood and Bollywood and any other
Yes.
region, would be that sometimes I start something and I get terribly bored, I start using my phone and I fall asleep. So sometimes I've started using all these OTTs as some sort of an app to fall asleep, because I know that it's a short recipe for me to fall
Yeah.
asleep if I'm not able to. Which means that somewhere down the line, the stories are extremely boring. Even
Right.
look at Kalki for that matter, right?
Yeah, you sat
And
through
I've-
Kalki last week.
Yeah, and I wasn't very impressed with it. I mean, of course, GFX and all are great.
Right.
Getting it all of to India, great. But where is the story? Similarly, if I were to talk about, I'm sure you're going to ask me about
I am going to ask you about Panchayat. Oh, was it Mirzapur,
Mirzapur,
season
right,
3?
Mirzapur
Right.
season 1 and season 2, fantastic,
You
right?
sat up and watched the whole thing last
Whole
night?
thing, yeah, all at one go, which is like some 10 episodes,
Yeah.
each around,
Good on
say,
you.
40 to 50 minutes, or
You didn't
sometimes
sleep?
15. I didn't sleep.
Oh, okay.
I thought it's pretty
Yeah,
evident.
full
Anyway.
marks then.
Anyway, but
Because-
then again, season 1, season 2, Mirzapur, great.
Right.
But season 3, not working.
Not working?
Not working.
Dragging.
Dragging, because Mirzapur is known for that fight, for that raw feel.
Yes.
The moment you try to make Mirzapur some sort of a political
Right.
series or whatever, then it doesn't work, because even if you're getting into politics, then you have to bring in that nuance. Here,
Right.
you're just getting a chief minister, and the chief minister, the narrative is going nowhere. It's back
Right.
and forth. The two camps are fighting forever and ever and ever. By the time you come to the second last or the third
Yeah.
last, that's when the story picks up. By then, you've already seen 7 episodes.
So
for
it's too much of a good thing, clearly, Anthony. And Sharik, just over to you. What do you think is the perfect business model of a post-pandemic movie? You know, like you have very demanding viewers like Anthony here
Lapata
who
Ladies,
fall asleep.
but Lapata
You like-
Ladies or Panchayat, they were like Panchayat season 3. That
Yeah.
did hold my attention to a great deal.
And Lapata Ladies this
And
time.
Lapata Ladies. Lapata
Right.
Ladies was it's.
But
it is,
let's
yeah.
hear it from the master himself. Sharik, what do you think is the perfect business model for post-pandemic cinema?
So I'll come to that, but I think it's interesting that Anthony is saying that he's using Netflix and Amazon to fall asleep. A few years ago, Reed Hastings had said that his biggest Netflix's biggest competition was sleep.
Yeah, actually, yes, I
5 years later, it's kind of
Look at how the
become a
tables have
focus.
turned.
there's too much
Yeah.
of Netflix now.
Too much of Netflix.
Right.
Yeah.
Agreed. I think I think the issue is that it's I always from a business model, I think it's important to ensure that the cost of actually producing it and getting it to theaters. See,
Yes.
let's take the case of Lapata Ladies. I think it got great success on Netflix, but theatrically it wasn't a great success.
Right.
Yes, it is extremely, it was made at a shoestring budget, but it had the added advantage of Amir and Kiran going out and
Yes.
promoting it. If you remove the Amir and Kiran factor from it, the same film made by anyone else would have probably done even lesser in the box
Right.
office than what it did, and probably would have found its market at on Netflix. So it was a hit online, but the money that Netflix pays for these films is decided upfront, and a lot of times these smaller films, it is other than maybe Lapata Ladies because it's an Amir production. It's linked to how the films have been performed, how the films perform at the box office.
Yes.
So it's all a little cyclical in terms of making sure that so as a producer, it's important to make sure that you have your digital deals signed before you release. Ideally, before you actually take it on floors, because that kind of gives you some sort of assurance that if I'm making a movie at 100, in the good old days, it used to be all your ancillary rights. So if you just break it up, the big rights are digital, satellite is shrinking, music is
Yes.
like stable to shrinking. So the pre-pandemic, it was at about 50% was 45 to 50% was covered by should have been covered by these rights. When the pandemic came, I think everyone got greedy primarily because the streaming platforms started throwing a lot of money, and there was this entire slew of films which were the digital rights. Either they went direct to digital at a premium on the cost that it was made, or on a post theatrical, it went up to as much as between 80 to 100% of your 25 crore say film was covered by the digital rights, and hence the entire challenge or the excitement or to actually get in audiences from the theaters became less, and hence kind of projects got made saying that I'm making this in 30 crores, I've got 25 crores covered in this, I'll do another 3-4 crores of P&A, and so 8 crores recovery from theatrical shouldn't be too much of a problem. And I guess a lot of producers and filmmakers got a little, and actors got a bit
Yes.
lazy, thinking that hey, my market price is getting maintained, and they unfortunately started pegging their market value on the basis of the ancillary rights rather than what the opening
Right.
weekend box.
But that's Sharik, correct me if I'm wrong, but the basic math is that a star charges what he can open a film with. So if XYZ star charges 50 crore, it means he guarantees a 50 crore opening for the film. How true is that today?
Oh, so yeah, no. So I mean, that should have been the benchmark. I think it becomes a question saying that give me 50 crores because hey, my satellite digital music, will cover 50 crores, and and there is the box office. No one's really talking about the box office numbers right now because
Right.
it's all pegged to the digital value, and hence that is where the business is getting a little skewed. I think obviously there needs to be a healthy mix. See, the big actors, whether it's Amir or Shah Rukh, they kind of they produce their own movies. Ajay also is predominantly now producing his films himself. So they kind of manage the books in a manner which allows them to put in their fees at a at a particular peg it at a particular level. So Donkey, for example, if you read the interviews of Shah Rukh or Raju
Yeah.
Hirani, they made it under 100 crores. Now, obviously, that is not factoring in Raju's fees, which in an open market, if he was to work for someone else, will be anywhere between 25 and 30, 40 crores, whatever the case might be.
Right.
And Shah Rukh is 100 to 200 to 250, whatever. So because when you don't factor in those costs, and then you're saying that okay, this is the film I made at whatever the actual cost of producing it.
Right.
And then you've got to participate because the producers, they participate in the upside of
Risk,
it, and that
yes,
the
risk.
yeah, so the risk has to be taken.
Yes.
The problem happens is that when there is a very when you're front loading your cost at anywhere between 50 to 150 crores of the of the top actors which is there, that if you're not going to open the box office at the right at a minimum 15 crore day one, 15 to 25 crore day one,
Right,
that
right.
becomes extremely difficult for the producers, because as I said, the digital rights and everything are all linked. And now most of the actors have got like 3 4 movies which have released post pandemic, and hence there is a benchmark even for the Netflix and Amazons to say that, hey, this is how much you're willing to pay this particular setup with this actor director.
Right, absolutely, Sharik. And the one line that jumped out at me was greed. And you remember that movie from the 80s, Anthony? This was before your time.
It is good.
Greed is good. Wall Street.
Gecko.
Yeah, Gordon Gecko. Just to put that, revert that a
try to
bit.
watch it, yeah.
If the industry needs to survive, greed isn't good, right? That's what's
True.
jumping out from what Sharik said.
Especially if you're not getting the numbers at the box office, then
Yes.
there's some serious rethinking that, of course, the industry and stars themselves need to do, because
They
if
need
they're
to
not bringing
relook
in
at their-
bang for the buck, then
Absolutely.
hey, that's not
And
a
that,
fair
but
deal.
thanks very much,
Yeah.
Sharik, for joining us and highlighting this problem
pleasure.
that's facing the industry today. Overpaid stars, are they killing the industry? Well, we're going to watch that story very closely, but you can watch Anthony's review of season 3 of Mirzapur on this link. Thanks for joining.